Cena, all the new talented wrestlers are getting in on this. And of course, the biggest legend featured in the game is Sting. Now, I've seen the visuals of Sting's character. I actually watched a lot of YouTube videos of fantasy matches of Sting going up against the top names in WWE, from The Undertaker to John Cena. More so, The Undertaker-Sting match has been played out by so many people who have posted videos of this video game on YouTube. It's amazing. So many people believe Sting has a psychological advantage in this match and would come out with the win. Others believe that Undertaker will win the match in what would be his retirement match. It's been interesting hearing your commentary for your walkthroughs on this game. A lot of you seem to be enjoying playing the showcase mode more so than my career. There are ups and downs for the my career mode, but you'll get hours of enjoyment playing the showcase mode, and after hours of enjoyment are over for you playing the showcase mode, which takes a look at the greatest feuds in WWE history and the greatest rivals, from Shawn Michaels and Triple H to Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart to The Rock and John Cena. Everything is looked at in this video game, and after you finish that in completion with 100% completion or close to that, you get My Career Mode, where you create your own player, which you've been able to do in previous releases, but not like this ever before. Has it been released in this kind of way? You're able to create your own player and enlist him in WWE NXT, and you go all the way from NXT to WWE, so that's a huge plus too. That's an added bonus feature for this video game, extending your hours of play that you'll get out of this game. And expect downloadable expansions to be released over the next few months, of course, to expand on your 2K experience with legends who aren't included in the original default roster of the video game. It's awesome, how they've updated the feel of this game. You'll find the checklist, of course, scrolls across the top of the screen more so than being in the top, I believe, left-hand corner, which is where the original checklists were listed for you for objectives to do through each individual match through the story mode. You'll find it scrolls across the top of the screen, and you'll find that the graphics have been really updated. Instead of standing there and just calling the matches, for instance, like Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler did for Attitude Era and 30 Years of WrestleMania, Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler call the action from ringside. Really disappointed JBL wasn't in there on the commentary. I don't know why. Maybe it would have been more difficult for you to follow if you had three voices to listen to while playing the match as opposed to two, like every other previous release. So they took JBL out of the commentary. But one thing you'll notice, and one thing I got from the walkthroughs on YouTube, instead of just standing there and calling the action at ringside with pre-recorded comments with statistics and comments on the matches, like we get every year, when you approach the table and dismantle the table, the commentators actually stand up and move out of the way, which is something that they never did for any previous WWE video game release. So that was kind of cool, and how detailed the commentary is in comparison to 2K14 and 2K13 is amazing. The detailed commentary is awesome. Let's say if you're playing at SummerSlam 2002 and you're engulfed within the rivalry of Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and you're watching the video packages. During a Shawn Michaels Triple H match, say at SummerSlam, they will comment on the upcoming main event that has nothing to do with the rivalry you're caught up within. Let's say Shawn Michaels and Triple H. They'll talk about The Rock and Brock Lesnar happening later on that night. So that was kind of cool. I found that really unique, how they were talking about matches that had nothing to do with your story mode that you were in and the rivalry you were engulfed within. So you'll get attention, of course, drawn to that as well. You'll notice that with the commentary, how updated the commentary is. And Jerry Lawler even tells stories about how he met wrestlers down in Memphis, and particularly The Undertaker. It's really cool. We've never had stories like that told by commentators, which is something that I wanted to get. The replays have also been updated, catching the highlights of the matches, which is kind of cool. You get a more detailed graphic showing you the highlights of the match and the momentous moments, which is something that we did get with WWE 13 and 12, but never in a way like we're getting it with 2K15 with the replays being updated. I'm still waiting for an upcoming release of a WWE video game with the actual televised replays, where they actually have the split screen where you see live action in the top right of your corner, and in the bottom left of the corner, of course, you see the actual replay. I'm still waiting for an updated replay that makes me feel like I'm watching television. They say it's so real you're going to feel it. The slogan of the game is pretty legit. The game is pretty real. It's one of the more realistic WWE video games that I can ever remember playing or seeing walkthroughs of on YouTube, and everybody seems to enjoy playing the game. Those of you that have your headsets on and you're calling the action, of course, through the story modes, the showcase mode, or my career mode, which is really detailed and very interactive. I'll get to that in a moment. You seem to be really enjoying it, so that really gives me confidence in going out and purchasing a title for PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 for argument's sake. I have purchased a copy of 2K15 because I was really impressed, and I was really impressed by the commentary that some of you did for your walkthroughs on YouTube. I can't go a day without watching a walkthrough for a wrestling game or some kind of fantasy game that I've really heard a lot about. I want to get a more of a detailed glimpse into, and I really think that this game goes with a lot of confidence because it's really updated and it really lived up to the hype. Now, there were some ups and downs, peaks and valleys, for this video game. One cool thing about the game, though, is you actually have energy bars for the first time since a classical wrestling arcade game. I can't remember the last video game that actually used energy bars, so that's kind of cool. Instead of just waiting for your wrestler to go to moderate damage or critical damage, by the color of the energy bar, which you decrease during the match, throughout the match as you're damaging your opponent, the energy bar changes color and decreases, so that's kind of cool. We haven't had an energy bar in years for a wrestling video game, so that's an added bonus, and it really brings back a feel of the classical WrestleMania arcade game, Super WrestleMania, or any of the WWE titles over the years, like WWE In Your House, back on the original PlayStation, so that is an added bonus. Along with that, you have a lot of wrestlers, of course, on the roster who weren't featured in any other video game, and you have Sting making his debut in a WWE video game. Now, when it comes to Sting, the visuals of Sting's character are just like any other legend. That is one of the down points of this video game. Let's say Bret Hart, of course, who was in WWE 13 in his feud with Degeneration X as part of the Hart Foundation. They documented the Montreal Screwjob, which I found pretty authentic. The detail was amazing, but this was Bret Hart's first WWE video game in years. And, it was just where he actually had a great deal of emphasis because he was, of course, in other releases, but not with as much emphasis as he has been for the last maybe 2 or 3 years. But, his debut in the game for the first time in years in the actual story mode really didn't live up to the hype, and it didn't seem like he was updated from any other time he had been featured in a wrestling video game. Of course, last year it was Hulk Hogan and The Rock. They made a big deal out of it for 14. Hulk Hogan, of course, a part of 30 years of WrestleMania for the first 1 through 9 WrestleManias. He played as Hulk Hogan in his matches with Sergeant Slaughter, The Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Andre the Giant. I found it kind of authentic how you played as original red and yellow Hulk Hogan, but, even though original red and yellow Hulk Hogan in Hollywood, Hulk Hogan from the NWO were featured in the video game, of course you didn't have the original NWO members featured in their NWO ring gear. You just had Razor Ramon and Diesel, which I found kind of stupid because you had Hollywood Hulk Hogan for his match with The Rock at WrestleMania 18, but you didn't have Scott Hall versus Stone Cold Steve Austin or anything Kevin Nash did at WrestleMania involved in any of the matches that you had from, say, WrestleMania 18 up to WrestleMania, whatever the case may have been. So not having the original NWO in the game was kind of a bummer. Only you had the original Razor Ramon and Diesel characters, and the only one you had reliving the NWO days was Hollywood Hulk Hogan. Now, this has been changed for WWE2K15. It's been significantly updated, so you can expect more of an NWO feel to be brought forth as you didn't get with WWE2K14, but that, to me, really let me down about the video game. And even though Hulk Hogan was as cool as what he was playing in WrestleMania and the WWE Streak mode, which was a big thing for the game, of course, defending the Undertaker streak, getting the highest score out of anyone, either between your friends or people that you were playing with online from the leaderboard. After, of course, you finish the streak mode, you could upload your score, and, of course, then you could try to beat the streak with various other wrestlers. I was able to do it with Wade Barrett. Even though it was authentic playing as classical Hulk Hogan, he let me down in more ways than one because it kind of brought back an original feel of playing WrestleMania, the arcade game, which I used to play endless amounts of time. Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan was my favorite match to play in the original WrestleMania, the arcade video game. But this year, Sting kind of puts me in mind of a Bret Hart kind of Shawn Michaels character. He's just there promoting the game. He was featured in the promos, and he's been featured on WWE Network quite a bit, taking a look at the video games roster, and they've been teasing Undertaker versus Sting for an upcoming WrestleMania. Obviously, he signed a deal to feud with people like Triple H and The Undertaker, which will play out the storylines in due time, and that's pretty much what Sting is making a name for himself off of now, building on his reputation from World Championship Wrestling when The Undertaker and Sting, of course, stayed true to their respective brands. And the only thing really they're making a big deal out of for Sting being in the game is that you can now play with Sting versus Triple H or Sting versus John Cena, or the big one, Sting versus The Undertaker, which will happen at some point in time because rumors have said that Sting's only desired opponent to have is The Undertaker. But, Sting kind of really let me down with this video game. Now, my career mode makes the game a little bit more interactive. It was always interactive because you create your own character. in the video game, but you can actually make your own decisions in a far more detailed way than you could for something like SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, which is really big because you could make decisions for what I believe was actually the first time ever for your character in season mode, when Raw and SmackDown, of course, for the first time became their respective brands. But in this video game, you can actually make more detailed interactive decisions, and the game is far more interactive than any other video game that they have released. You can actually choose to turn on people. You can choose whether or not you're a fan favorite or you're a heel. That's really huge. I think the interactivity is up there, and of course you can play online on the PlayStation Network for free. They have the PlayStation 3 version, and you have to pay for the PlayStation 4, so that is kind of downing it. You can play for free on the PlayStation 3, and you can't for the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One as you can for the Xbox 360. So you don't be surprised if the number of sales, of course, the highest number of sales come from the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions because of the capability to play for free online to some extent on Xbox and all the way on PlayStation 3. So that kind of downs it a little bit. But the fact that you can play online and you can share your experience with everybody else is amazing to me as well. And the way that they have designed the casket matches and the buried alive matches and the various matches, how they've updated the Elimination Chamber, that is huge too, because I can remember the original Elimination Chamber match when it made its debut all those years ago. You know, the detail really wasn't there. The cages, of course, would flash when choosing who was going to come out next to the pod. They really updated it with the clock down in the corner, looking more like a Survivor Series clock, for instance, for Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. They randomly choose who's going to come out, and it feels more like an Elimination Chamber, especially with the cutscenes for Shawn Michaels and Triple H when Shawn Michaels is sent crashing through the pod. It's real realistic how Shawn Michaels is spitting up glass, and how Triple H and Shawn Michaels go through the endurance of the match. It's really amazing, you know, the commentary making it feel more real. It's really living up to the slogan this year. It's so real that you'll feel it. WWE2K15 feel it, because it's that real that you actually will feel it. Maybe not in the way that you're almost there as you would on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One type of experience because of the graphic enhancements being significantly different from prototype to prototype for PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4 is a huge jump, despite the criticism, for instance, as it is from Xbox 360 to Xbox One. It may not be as real as a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One experience, but it is pretty real and it is pretty legit, so the slogan does live up to the hype. But like everything, of course, it has